Make sure I can unmute.
Yeah.
Hello, Diane, I didn't get a chance.
Hi, Josh.
Joe and Catherine, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right, and we're recording, so we're good to go.
Maybe we could, call a meeting to order. You have the minutes from the, November 7th meeting, audit committee meeting. Did you make a motion?
I make a motion that they be approved.
Second, we're all in favor. There were only four committee members. You know, with one vacant seat, and then, Nick Kangas, had a medical appointment this morning, so he couldn't be with us. We've been in and out of the hospital the last couple of months, so I think things are going in the right direction now. Okay, next thing we would do would be, the objective today is to try to get through everything. Any follow-up questions we would have about 2 weeks before they go to the finance committee, which I guess is what, December 12th, and then the town council on the 13th. And so, you know, that's our objective. Hopefully we get through all or most of it today. And I thought that maybe the best way, unless you see it otherwise, the proceeding is really maybe take us through whatever you want to say about the financial statements, whatever you want to cover. You know, just sort of have 2 introductory remarks, and then maybe there was a format of some questions, and maybe not that you need a coverage one though. Let's just go down there, and then you can say anything you want about any of those things, or just say it's done, check it off. You know, we have. I'm trying to move towards the 1 hour version of the meeting rather than the 7 hour.
Yeah.
So we'll do whatever you want to do.
So what I would say.
Well, let me say it just way. You could do whatever you want to do. I've probably gone 7
I make
hours.
a suggestion, maybe we just take this document and lead through it quickly. And you can stop wherever you want to talk about something, and we can stop wherever we want to talk about stuff. And then we can just run through it from start to finish.
Well, unless you have, because the document is so
And we can say,
unless
what's
there's
the
something
first
like-
page? It might be page 100.
We have the
I
current
think-
version.
No, we have the most current one that we have.
And there is actually another one based on some of Robin's comments. We, PKF has updated some of them, which will, once we have everybody's, we'll have that red line, so you can see that one. There's a couple of things that you would mention, that you know, words and things. I think if we're trying to keep it down to an hour, we'll go through this, and if it relates back to the app, we certainly do, because unless you have specific questions, you know, to tables or something.
Maybe also be
we'll go
good
here.
to highlight, you know, as you go through, you can highlight what you
Yeah,
think
maybe.
is important for people to understand. So
Okay.
we don't miss anything.
Okay, but again, and I don't need to be, I'll go through the NTNA because that's the main highlights of this. So that was, I'm just saying for time, but if there's something.
The first thing we-
Yeah, I don't want to overdo it. It's just
Right,
taking
that's
much
what
time.
I'm saying.
For example, Mike says, does anybody have anything on transmit? I don't, well, I'll say no, and then we'll move on.
Okay, perfect, no,
And then
that's
we move
perfect.
on to the MDNA and,
Yeah.
then we move on that, and then we say, well, what's the first thing, and say page 30. In which case we go to page 30. We don't have to stop anywhere except where anybody has any comments.
Okay,
What I would
we'll
suggest.
start with what you're saying on the transmittal letter, if anything, anybody have, anything on that?
I think maybe this is a foundational thing. Just tell us where you think we are. And then second, of all,
Okay.
maybe highlight any new items, you know, highlight the new items
Sure.
or changes that we might have. And I know last year and a little bit this year, we had some challenges with fixed assets and leases, maybe just touch on that, and then we can jump into the.
Yeah, okay. So high level wise, I think we're in a really good shape where we are at this point. We're just working out the questions that the committee would have and fine tuning it. Fixed assets, I have to give credit to my staff and Josh Coughlin. We got them in, we got it reassigned, we got everything done, we had the depreciation tables, we got that in, so very happy, and the staff pulled all together to make sure that was in. You'll see we have considerable CIP for this year. This is years an anomaly because we had so much movement and construction. We had an additional, we took off $1 million, but we added 10. So we do have a large CIP this year. That, you know, we put processes in place at the end of the year. We'll move on with the open and close and keep on top of that.
Is that, because we just have a bigger number, or is it because we have a different approach or policy for evaluating it?
No, a lot of projects,
Just a lot
a
of.
lot of projects, yeah, but it's a testimony to the amount of projects the town's doing right
Okay.
now.
And we've gone through and they're all open.
And they're open, yep, as of 6:30, they were open, yeah. The leases, we went through them again, you'll see that they're updated numbers. SPITA, which is the subscription-based IT technology arrangements, I kept saying agreements, it's arrangements. That was added this year. We had a couple, in that, and that called just similar to last year with the leases, it called the restatement of the 2022 numbers for the opening balances on those agreements. We'll keep going on with them going forward. I'm trying to think of what were the main challenges. I would say they were the major time-consuming ones that we wanted to make sure we got in place correctly.
On the CIP, do you run everything through CIP or do you go directly to the asset category for most things?
Can you clarify that?
Well, if you buy a van, I mean, does it go into CIP and then out of CIP into motor
Oh,
vehicle?
no, if it's a closed if the project's closed and we build packages, somebody builds it by project. When that project is done, if it's just a van and it's one van and I say it's done and we close the PO, we load it. We can load that particular asset.
I was just surprised that the transfers out of CIP were less than $1 million.
Some of the projects are a couple of years old and they're not completed.
That's not because things go directly to the. category.
No, they don't, they will
Okay.
go, as I said, we build a package, we say which one's closed, we put them CIP, we put them activate, and that's how we load them.
So if you were, maybe I should ask this to Joe. Hey, Joe, if you were, want to look at this from an audit standpoint,
So what was that question again?
well, I guess the question really is on this question of CIP. If you look at this from an audit standpoint, is there any reason a department would want to keep projects open longer than they should be from either an accounting standpoint or from a recording standpoint? You know, when you look at the fund, you look at the benefits, the government accounting aspects of it. I mean, is there anything in that area of things being open that when you see that from an audit standpoint, or Catherine, when you saw it, is there anything that concerns you at all? Or the department, nothing we should be concerned about. Do you test it? Do you look at it?
Yeah, we look at what's there. We look at the roles. So if things are not moving out of CIP, then we would ask why. So there is a tendency in government, if you have 2 million to spend and you only spent 1.9 and maybe the project's mostly done, sometimes they leave it there, but after a year or two, we're gonna say, well, if it's in production, if it's being used, you need to push it out and deal with the, the remainder of the cost. Either it'll just get expensed or if it's not significant, but it is something we look at as far as, if there's stuff there that's not moving out, we will bring that to attention. And part of our process is to ask, is this done? Is this done? Is this done? So then we expect it to be moved into the capital asset category and out of CIP.
When you're not, you're not depreciating it, it will come out of CIP, right?
Correct.
So, that's interesting. The other thing, what if from a bonding standpoint, if the project was bonded and it's not completed, what implications does it have on that?
The bonding, we bond in arrears, so we have 18 months from the point that the project is done to
The
bond
point the
for it,
project is done.
once the project's done.
Some of these projects have been open for a couple of years.
Oh, they have, yeah,
CIP, so let's just say for the sake of discussion, if something, a lot of places would do it 1 year, but for some reason we do it in 3, and then we have 18 months to bond it after that. So we
from
can-
the point of when it's completed.
So we could actually start a project one day and 4.5 years later bond it.
Yeah, not that we, technically, well, say.
Trying to say it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But we did, based on what, PKF and last year's audit we were going through, we did close out 350 projects, I think it was. We closed them out, deauthorized them, and transferred the money to authorize for unbonded projects. So we did close out a lot, it just needed confirmation it was done and go through the proper process, and they were closed out. The departments, Board of Ed and DPW were very instrumental in that.
Okay. Nothing bothered you there, Joe, on that? You okay with it, Captain?
Yeah, we, as I said, last year, we did see a lot of that, because it is common. That stuff gets pushed in there and then it's just not looked at when they're doing additions, because it's already recorded. But that was an issue last year, plus just kind of grouping things by project, so a lot of it did get cleaned up, but again, it is something that we look at. Because of what you're saying, if the assets being used and not being depreciated, then that's not the correct way, so we do. Look at that activity to make sure things are moving out timely.
When you say last year, was that June, July of 23 or 22?
It was for the June 22 audit where we identified a lot of things and that was cleaned up last year in 22's audit.
So does that mean that, you cleaned up a lot of things in 22, and since you didn't look at it that closely in 23, presumably, is this starting to build back up again, or is it just that? What was your
But I just
conclusion?
need to correct the date there. We cleared up a lot June of 23. So the
Oh.
comment was 22, sorry, Joe. The comment was 22 was like, we would start cleaning these up. We did. And then June of 23 is when we cleared it from the board appointment. So we followed through the.
Great,
Yeah.
okay, anyway, good, funny, I'm sorry.
Yep. So I'm just trying to think of where's the best part. Do you want to go through then Chuck's comments first? We'll move on to the end.
Why don't we just kind of go through and
Yeah, anything,
first page, if somebody has something, we'll bring it up.
so we.
Sure, okay, we'll start in the
We're done
MD&A.
with the transmittal.
Yep, I ain't.
Okay,
Well, the transmittal, we already on transmittal, interestingly, at the last meeting, I questioned the demographic statistics of the state. And I understand based on some articles that we've researched, that they generally speak, that's being pushed. How this state's numbers, so all I'm saying is I don't have it in front of me. But we should make sure that that table we have there, where we have demographics, that we attribute that to whoever published that. We may have already done that, but because it's not our numbers, it's somebody else's, right? It may turn out they're wrong.
okay.
All right.
It says US Bureau of Census.
This is the census.
It's okay. That's great.
So,
Your sense.
Hasn't been updated yet, so.
stuff from Washington.
All right.
Stuff from Washington.
Whenever you read the one, whenever you see 10 data points and one looks different than the other,
Yeah.
probably different.
So I'll go with the first page then of the MD&A. Our first bullet point obviously was not saved, but we went back through it and, in Chuck's question, that was also one of Chuck's questions in regards to it on page 18. It's very hard to tell when you talk about the year-over-year net position increase or decrease. On bullet point 1, it's very hard to say what it is because they're, let me make sure I'm saying the right one. It's really, you've got to look at excuse me, the applet itself. It gives you the net position changes up and down, the inflows, the outflows, deferred. It's a combination of all that. So it's very hard to put into that. It's really the net of looking at that note. What we could do is reference that note to say, look at note X, Y, whatever, I don't know it offhand right now, and put it there so someone could actually see those detailed changes. There's 2 pages worth of changes. It's very hard to, one way the pension's going up, one way the pension's going down. It's very hard to put into that type of writing.
My only point was the way it's written, it's like an open sentence.
Oh, no, right, that was, and we actually had a
That
problem
was
where
my only, that was my.
it didn't save our changes. Yeah, basically that's what happens, yeah. Yeah, we guessed it.
I think I had suggested to. Could just refer to, page 22,
Yeah, or more detail wherever they want to see it. Yep, definitely.
where it shows the different, the change.
On bullet,
Could just refer to page 20.
sure.
That'd be nice.
Bullet point 3, you requested to take out the table in here for the gap and just have a statement, so we can take that out on the,
Right,
the language.
consider that.
We took that out already.
Okay, and then just refer basically to the note, I think.
Yes.
So you-
And, know,
You say you did the new standard, then go see page 98 or whatever.
yeah, it was exhibit K, so it was in that one.
Yeah.
Let's see, unless there's any other questions on these, points that you have.
Yeah,
I'll keep
the,
going through.
Investments.
Investments,
Or the fifth bullet. So my only point here is that the 2.4 is not just the income from investments. It's income from investments and also whatever the next line is. So it's just two things.
I broke it down into two things. I said, I broke it to
The
2.4.
words, it says income from investments is increased by 2.4. If you go look at the line called income from investments, it didn't increase by 2.4. That was my.
Well, we changed this line last year. It was this way, it was, in 21, it was one particular way. We changed it last year to the sentence, the very first sentence, to combine it first and then break it out. So I've been requested to keep it the same, so I left it the same.
And I would just say, I think last year was wrong. I would just take a look and see if you could. Yeah.
Come back, no, they was recommended, the treasurer asked for it to come back. So
All I'm saying is that it says income from investments increased 2.4 million. That's what's.
okay,
If you look at the line called in your financials calls income from investments. It's not increased by 2.4. It's two components. So I'm saying it's include also income from investments and unrealized gain or loss on investments. Increased by 2.4 and then give the breakdown.
I can do that. Yes.
That's all. It's just a.
And you
Very
said,
simple.
why were you asked to do it that way last year, and now we're changing? it?
So if you remember last year, we had a big debate, right, for months.
Last year, this was
So
because,
who asked her to do it that way last year, and who's that, and now we're asking her to change this year? I just want to
We're not
understand.
asking any change this year. Last year, I think we asked to break it out,
Okay,
and I think it was broken out, but I think the words just didn't get reflected.
no, what happened last year was there was a large unrealized loss. And we didn't want to show the unrealized loss as a number by itself, so it was asked to be combined as one line first as the combined number, and then break out the two numbers and explain it that it's an unrealized loss. We did a lot of changes of wording throughout the document that was requested, and that's why I kept it the same. So I can put it back if that's.
We can talk about it. It's simply just words. It's just saying.
Is
I'm
Andrew,
just saying,
is, I mean.
Andrew's online.
Andrew's online too.
I didn't want to say, because Andrew got involved in that.
Yes,
so
yes,
I'm
because
curious.
they didn't
Hi.
show them so large.
Just say it's income from investments and unrealized gain and
I
loss.
put that.
Increase.
Yeah.
That or debit.
And then give the components, which you got. That's all. Just.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I agree with what Chuck is saying. And my recollection from last year was we had wanted to split out income from investments as from the unrealized gains or losses. I realized last year it was losses, and this year it's a very different situation, thankfully. Even though we never realized any of those losses, of course, but I realized for the accounting purposes, we need to reflect whether we have a gain or loss. But I agree with keeping it really clear about what is income versus what is unrealized. So I think Chuck's suggestion makes sense to me.
Thank you for that, Andrew. We can definitely do that, but I just want to be clear that last year it was requested to combine because it was such a loss on the unrealized loss that we did not want to show that, not we, the committee did not want to show that loss and yourself. And that's why we went back and forth, but we did break it out to show the difference of it so we could see both places, but we did have one line that came back
Okay, what you
together.
see and understand, it's just, you've got the
Yeah.
input, just do whatever.
so we should just keep a consistent methodology
that's
though,
what I'm trying
because
to
it doesn't look good to switch back and forth.
No.
At our, based on if we have a loss or if we have a gain.
That's it.
So that
Right.
would be my suggestion.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we actually had wanted it split out in the table last year too. We didn't want it combined. At least that when I look back at my comments from last year,
I don't know, we
was against combining.
can go back to the videotape, it's probably not worth it.
Have you, the long-term debt, the fourth bullet, have you checked out those?
Fourth bullet,
They don't, to me, they don't seem to agree to what's in the footnote.
So this would, the MD&A is a summary of the footnotes. So in the MD&A, the schedules that are MD&A are what the comments are based on. So if you go to the MD&A on page, and I forget which note I put it there for you. On page, this is that, the one, it's towards the back, yep. No, it was between the two years. 29, it's at the very back.
Page 68 is what I was.
Right, but that's, so the MD&A refers to the tables in the MD&A. The comments in the MD&A refer to the summary tables in the MD&A. The after will then split it out even further.
Where's the 274?
So it's a breakdown of multiple pieces.
There wasn't a question on the total, there was a question about the split between additions
Yes,
and reductions. Okay, that was my only comment. The totals, I think that's fine.
okay, yeah, sorry.
Just-
On the very last page of the summary MD&A, there is a long-term debt schedule.
Yeah,
And to get to the numbers that you need, you have to break out the details of the year-over-year difference. So the year-over-year difference on the top line, you can see where the debt went down, the 13 million.
I
The
understand.
year-over-year, so it's the combination of those,
My
pieces?
question is the 274 and the additions, and
Yes,
if you, and I think those ought to agree to page 68. Which is.
again, it goes to the summary table that's on the MD&A. There could be more detail in
Long-term debt
68.
on the table.
Yeah, there could be additional details in that
I
table.
understand that. I'm saying it's just check it, okay?
Sure, we
But
did.
to me, I don't see the 274. I see the numbers that I have on my list there.
I believe it's subscription payable, maybe?
Bottom of page 3 on mine.
There were only additions to subscriptions.
So maybe I'm looking at it wrong, okay, but
I think so.
to me, it looks like the additions and
You have,
reductions.
I can give you the exact table. Based on this table on page 23, I can give you the breakdown that shows the breakdown on the side and the two numbers that make up, the four numbers combined that make up those numbers.
And they are the time to 68. Page 68. Which is the detail of the debt. Shows the additions and deletions on the debt. That's all I'm trying to do is to tie it in what's said on the bullet. With what's in. Maybe you can take, Joe, you can take a look at it too, and see what you think. Maybe I'm looking at it, but.
You can take a note, Joe. just
So you can take a look at it, so follow up.
Yeah.
Right? Joe, you can,
We can take a look at it. So just to be clear, because the MD&A is, we just got something yesterday. We haven't reviewed it yet. So we will go through and look at that, but most likely the numbers should reconcile to the footnotes, but we'll take a look.
Maybe when you review it, you can also have these questions that will pose next to you when you review them, so you could just pick up
Yes.
anything. I think, okay, great.
Yep, we'll do that. We'll make sure we vet everything that's here, but
Anything you got a problem with it?
Well, no, I just want to clarify, because the tables I got were with the current numbers in them, the tables I received to make the MD&A. So will they change?
I suggest you just take a look at it.
So I think any question, you're asking a question.
Yeah.
That he said he hasn't reviewed it yet.
Right, but we got tables that have the updated numbers in them.
So why don't we just review that question and then you and Ann can just figure out whether when she has what you think of the final numbers or whether
Yes.
she has what you think of the preliminary.
So on the third bullet, you're gonna only pay one. The fourth bullet, you're gonna just back out the new. The fifth bullet, you're gonna add in, maybe to have the unrealized gain. Yep. I think, as far as the highlights.
Okay, so where are we now? When do you want to go to next?
We're done with page 1, so now we're moving beyond page 18. I think. Well, page 1 on page 18, so whatever the next page is. For me is.
Great.
Maybe 23. At least.
Yeah, I mean, I had one or two wording changes I get to have, nothing worthy of discussion here. Yeah, 23.
So 23, this is the changes in, it's basically the income statement. Changes in the balance sheet.
Correct.
And it was fourth bullet. 1, 2, 3, 4.
General government,
And then really, I guess it's just the whole question about pensions. So,
We spent a little time on this, Chuck and I, and I'm not sure we fully understand the pension expense number. We should-
Catherine and Joe, I'll kick that over to you in terms of the difference between the actuarial study and the government statements.
I guess the question is, I guess the simple question is, what is the pension expense for the town?
So I sent Ann a follow-up this morning after looking at the comments because I think there's multiple numbers kind of going on. So the pension expense that's in the government-wide financial statement, so what ends up in Exhibit D, is not the same as the pension expense that's reported in the footnote. The pension expense in the footnote is from the actuary's report, which is essentially the contributions plus the government-wide pension expense entry. So they're two different numbers. So I think that might be where some of the confusion is coming from.
I guess let me just, you said the pension expense is the contributions, town contributions or the employee contributions?
The employer, so the town contributions plus.
The expense is the town contributions plus the actuarial determined expense?
No, the actuarial expense equals the employer contributions plus the government-wide financial statement expense entry.
What are the government-wide financials?
The exhibits A and B in the financial statements.
we're trying to explain page 22, right?
So you're looking at the expense that's recorded in
I
exhibit
guess what I'm
B.
trying to understand is what do we think the expense is? Because it's written a little bit differently. And it may be right, it may be wrong, but I'm just trying to understand because the expense is the expense not what the actuary told us it is? That's the expense, period, full stop.
Yeah, there are two different numbers. What the actuary has in their report as the calculated expense versus what's actually recorded in the financial statements is
But
two
what's
different numbers.
What is the expense? The expense, what the actuary computes? I mean, if we think the actuary is wrong, that's one thing, but you're assuming he or she did it right, is that the expense, what they computed in their report? It seems to me much.
I don't know if Joe, you can explain it a little better, but the expense in the actuary's report is different from the actual expense that gets recorded in the financials.
We're looking at page 22, right?
Right, and the expense that's recorded in the financial statements is basically your change in the pension liability and the deferred in and outflows related to the pension. So it's just different than the expense that the actuary calculates.
Let me page 22, which has expenses. Yeah,
Are you
right.
in A or what document?
Page 22, the end. I
Continue.
think that's page 2. And that I think is the gap financial statements, right? What I call a gap financial statement. Right?
Yes.
And so that's the exhibit A and B, right?
Yep.
B, whatever it is. And it has a bunch of different, what I call departments, if you want to call it that. General government, public safety, all different departments, right?
Correct,
Everything.
correct.
And they're just breakdowns of the expenses, right? How you manage it.
Correct. Yes.
So then what we're trying to do on page 23 is explain fluctuations there, right?
Correct.
So when we look at, or we say general government expense increased by 8.7, which I'm sure you did. Most of it is the library, right? Or decreased by 8, most of it's the library expenses. And
Because
then
of
we
the
say the
year-over-year
pension
change.
expense increased by 1.1 million.
For just for general government, not for
For
public
general
safety,
government.
not for not for public safety, not for board of
I
ed,
understand.
yeah, just for general.
This is just a piece.
Yes,
So another way of looking at it, you have the total pension expense for the town. Which, that's Bill's question. The total, what is the total pension expense for the town? For the town pension? And then how is that split between these 6 or 7 different departments?
okay,
We got a little schedule that shows, you know, here's what it was last year, here's what it was this year in total, and then here's what it is by department. And then that difference that shows up on that for each one of the departments is what would go in here, right? So if that schedule showed general government decreased or increased by X, that's what you would put here, right? So the starting point is, what is the pension expense that's in the gap numbers? Not the modified gap and the other things that are there, but the gap numbers. To me, that's the actuarial, and this I could be wrong. I always thought that that would be the actuarial expense number that shows up in the actuarial report. Now, the contributions may be, you know, back in the budget numbers and all that kind of stuff. But when you get to the gap number, isn't the pension expense equal to what the actual report says? Period. So because in there is the, you know, things like the return on assets and the interest expense and service costs and contributions. Basically, the contributions go into the assets, which then gives you a return. And that's all factored into the actuarial calculation of the expense, I thought, from my experience, but maybe it's different here. I don't know.
Well,
So, and I had a table here, which I included on my thing here, which is right out of the actuarial reports for the 2 years, right? And it shows that the entire pension expense changed for the town, the whole town is $900,000. So my only question was, if the change is 900,000 for the whole town, how could it be $1 million for the government portion of that? And also another $1 million for the public safety portion of that. That was the 2 comments that I had. And so that was my question, okay? And I still haven't kind of been convinced that of what the right answer is. So that's where I'm.
So Joe, you were gonna say something?
all right. Yeah, normally the numbers are probably close, but for the disclosure, we would use whatever entries, but it does include the contribution, because even the actuary includes the contribution as pension expense, and then it's adjusted, as Catherine said, for those other factors, the change in the liability, you know, because the contribution is the cash basis expense. And then it's adjusted to accrual with change in liabilities and deferred inflows and outflows. So I can go back and look, we can go back and look at what you're looking at, because I mean, the number in the audit is 2.275 is pension expense.
We agree with
That's
that.
the actuarial report. Only the actuarial report, which is what I got at the bottom, right?
The 2,275,000.
Right, that's correct. That's out of the actuarial report.
Okay,
And last year it was 1.365. And the difference is 909,000.
You need to go back and take a look at this, because I mean, in some respects, it's real cat, right? It really matters. And also, the contribution that the town makes is not an expense. It's paying for the expenses.
That's right.
And so it's not an additive number, it's just a number.
but it's indirect in the change in the liability, because the contribution reduces the liability, so it's indirect, but it's.
The expense has to be what the actuary says, you know, the actuary could be wrong with something, or the assumption could be wrong, but the expense has to be what the actuary says the expense is. The contribution, there are 2 types of contribution. There are contributions the town makes on behalf of the employees, and then I guess some of the employees must contribute as well. So that's the second piece, and they're treated a little bit differently. But you just got to take a look at it and then make sure that I think the most important thing It's for everybody to understand what the expense is. And then, once you understand what the expense is, then the words will flow. And, you know, from that standpoint. So, and again, we don't know what the expense is. We're just saying, you know, Chuck went look at the actual report. We're just saying from the actual report, it seems to us that we're adding some things together that maybe we shouldn't add together. We tend to provide the explanations that we have. And of course, all of this excludes the teacher's pension, which, you know, is, you know, we could maybe say that, you know, it's, you know, in the footnotes, it's a big number. And I think that, you know, I think they really, I don't know exactly how the first selectman or the town council or the board of finance, it's in it.
No, we have to report it, but it is a state obligation.
It's not our.
Oh, right,
We don't report the,
It is a state obligation.
we do report kind of an expense,
Yeah,
On top side on based on,
which is kind of what we're doing.
but it's not the town's responsibility, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, I mean, I guess from my standpoint,
I get it.
that is the, you know, that's the $64 question, right?
Will they?
Because somebody has to pay for it, and it's only you and me are gonna pay for it, right? I mean, and so the question is, it may not be the town responsibility, but it's our responsibility, so, I mean, I don't know, you know.
Right, but that's what, at the end of the day, that'll happen at the state level, and so that's you looking at the state's
Yeah.
audited financials, not the town's,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes, and so, I guess. You know, I guess maybe just, I think the financial statement's right. I think what Ann's done is right. I think the numbers that the state has are wrong.
Yeah.
You know, they're too
But
low.
it's not the same.
We should, go back to the other thing, you know, came from the government.
Yeah.
Back up. You know, but I think, you know, from, you know, in your position, Deanna, you know, so like a company that has an asbestos liability.
Right.
Or so like Johnson and Johnson that had a baby powder line problem, right? I mean, it's, you know, we have it right, except there's another couple of $1 billion out there that are responsible for it. And I don't think we can do anything else differently, you know.
We had talked, if you remember last year, Bill, we kind of got into the same conversation. We talked about having Hooker and Holcomb come talk to the audit committee, and maybe we set that up in January so that you guys can ask the questions and understand how they get to the numbers they do. So that's something we can see.
But their report, they have the expense in there, so, you know, that's their number, you know, yeah. Okay, so I think, Joe and Catherine, you know, you guys should go through the pension numbers, you know, work with Ann, make sure you're all on the same page with the expenses, and make sure the words flow from that.
And Joe, I think Ann sent out to everybody our back and forth comments. So you can take a look at that. That's on my page 6 and 7. And also at the bottom of that, I have the table of the pension expense that I used. That's basically what I was thinking.
Okay. Yep, I have that printed out in front of me
It
now.
could be wrong.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Any more questions on 22?
The only other point, and you can take a look at what I wrote, but, you know, the education, a big part of that is the budget. The explanation is the fact that it was a budget increase.
What bullet point 2 do you reference?
23, page 23.
The budget increase of 6.7? Yeah, I have a,
Yeah, it's just, I'd suggest you refer, just put a little reference back to the tables where Sean had put together some nice tables that explain why the budget's up.
You're saying.
So since you had the biggest explanation being the budget increase, just refer back to the section that talks about why the budget increased. That's my own.
Yeah.
That's just a reference.
30. Next one I have is 31.
So what, the, BOE section of this 26 onwards, what's
I.
You got that in now?
That's, oh, I sent that out the other day, in the highlighted section, I forget what day we sent it out on, Tuesday, maybe that. Yeah, we just, so Thursday, it's the latest email this week, that I sent out a revised package out there with the Board of Ed and Wednesday, maybe. And it had a highlighted section in it.
Oh, was it? Okay, so it was in there. I didn't-
Yeah.
Right. BOE, and yes, the one you sent Wednesday, yeah.
Okay, Wednesday.
Right. Got it. I think it's, I think it's-
Go ahead. Keep on.
Your question on 31?
Yeah. Trying to find that page 31. I can't find it. Yeah, it's related to CIP. And I think what we did in the MDNA, which I don't have in front of me, is like list the major federal expenditures by grouping. And I think, like we said earlier, there was 10 million of increase to CIP. And I think there were only 2 items listed that were like $800,000. So my only question was, are there any other items that might want to go on the schedule to help explain the 10 million? That was all. And it just seemed like 800,000 was a little bit light for the 10 million.
The difference being in this schedule, and I can certainly change it, this schedule to me was what was capitalized, not what everything was or is. So I did not put the CIPs in here, because I put what was.
You said the schedule.
Right.
Okay,
You
maybe I
said,
misread it.
you said the schedule was why you should be.
I set the schedule based on what assets were capitalized as new assets, not CIP assets. So I did it as what was
So
capitalized, not what.
you were dealing with in the CIP line, you were dealing with the reduction.
Yes,
As
that's the
opposed
main
to-
reduction coming out of CIP, yes. But I can certainly put in everything in
Yeah.
general.
That wasn't clear.
Yeah. I'll definitely, yep.
It wasn't clear, and I don't know if that makes any sense.
I mean, if you want, I can change it around, I can certainly change it around and put,
Because then you're missing, talking about all the major additions, the 10 million.
it was just semantics to me on
That
what
show
was
up
their
in
addition.
CIP.
Yeah.
So take a look at it.
Yep, I can certainly change that.
That's what
That's
it
the one.
was. Okay. So that's what that was all.
32 with the pension, we covered a lot of that.
Yeah, nothing.
Normal seasons. I think we're okay there.
34, I think you provided a list of your CIP.
Yes,
61.
so on page 9. Yeah. So, so on page 61 of the after, we wanted to know what that breakdown was.
It was just a very general question, I guess, that I had on receivables. In
So,
general,
sorry, well,
and 2 things. One is the taxes receivable, but there's also another thing called accounts receivable, which was like $1 million. Just generally, are the taxes receivable collectible? Good number. How's the general, is there a review of that? Generally, is that collectible? Should be. And the second thing was the accounts receivable, which is like $1 million. What kind of makes that up?
oh, I didn't see that one on your listing, so I didn't bring that in, but I can send that to you.
What kind of makes that up?
No, I have to tell you that I don't have it offhand, but I can definitely get that scheduled to you. We haven't really looked at that.
Because I know in the past, we've
So-
had collections from people like Eversource and so on.
That doesn't sound familiar right now, but I can definitely get it.
They do. Police provide some service for them, and we bill them for it, collected. You know, there was always some issues in the past with respect to, timely collections and timely payment on their part to the town.
Yeah.
There's $1
I
million.
can get the schedules.
$1 million accounts receivable. Sounds kind of funny to me. but-
Okay,
but it's-
sorry, I didn't
It's
have that
not,
one.
it's not increasing from last year, it's just.
I'll get that. I only looked up your 61 for the question on taxes. So in relation to the taxes, That's, if you look at, if you were looking at our general ledger, it's the current portion of the long-term portion of our tax receivable on our balance sheet. And then the allowance for collectibles. The allowance for collectibles is we take the past 4 or 5 years, we say, we work out the percentage of what actually was collected versus what was not. And we come up with a collection to come up with this allowance, to go against it. For taxes, real estate never goes away. So that's either foreclosed on, you're always gonna get your real estate tax. The taxes,
No return for that.
no, so on the, so the real estate is, and our taxes go back 15 years, they stay on the books for 15 years, and after that, they're wiped free. So with business, taxes and car taxes, they're harder, car taxes, that's a higher, that kind of goes higher in collection rates because if someone moves out of town after the grad list, so it's a harder one, but we do put, we do have a collection agency that it goes out to for the car taxes. Businesses, again, is hard. We have someone who's delinquent, we report it on Concord with the state, so that if anyone else is coming in to either buy that business or anything with it, there's a lien on that. So, this just accounts for it, on our balance sheet.
And totally unrelated comment, not the finance. Is there anybody, who is it that, if anybody, is responsible for making sure that people who live in the town and own cars are registered with the state? I mean, I was just
So that's amazing.
I was just dealing with somebody yesterday who was like, I went through this whole thing, you really, you the payment, I haven't thought about it, get a license plate.
Well, right now, it is a tough, that so many people moved in and they don't understand the rule that they need to register in the state and in the town. There's various ways, it's collection agencies, but you have to find the vehicle, so there's license plate readers.
But do we have somebody that, do we have a program to do that,
We don't have yet, we're looking at all aspects of how we collect the taxes, that's an initiative that we're looking at ours right now. Like I said, attorneys and all can handle the real estate through foreclosure or
Okay.
we can sell leads. Getting the cars are the next one that we're looking at to say, what do we really want, what does New Canaan want to do?
Yeah.
On that, and that's the initiative we're gonna.
Yeah, this
look at.
was just so egregious, I mean, I could see if somebody got 7 cars, they go and registered in some state where their house is, maybe that's the right answer, but this is like a guy was talking about, not only do I do business in New Canaan, I should drive in New Canaan,
Right.
it's license plate.
There's different methods the tax collector can do to find them, cars are difficult,
Yeah,
but, there are methods that you can do under the state statutes.
Danbury recently had a program to do that, and they were able to save about $350,000.
where is that, Sean?
Danbury,
Was that right, really?
they recently had a big campaign to identify people with out-of-state license plates that were always parked at apartment buildings and so on.
We actually see it at the transfer station. A lot of out-of-state cars use their New Canaan residents to get a dump sticker. But the car might have, out-of-state plate, and that's a red flag. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a choice to.
Florida.
I could say crime looks like Florida.
Yeah,
I did it in another town, and had a read license plate reader, and at night, they would just drive down streets
yeah.
and, or during the day. And if they got hit with a plate that had no recollection to our list, then they would get notified.
Like main plates without just ask for.
That is, actually, a lot of tax collector associations talk about further upstate or further up Maine, and that where there is an ability to just register, no problem, if they would have a good appeal box. So that is an ongoing
A
for
lot of people
decades.
have that.
So it's what the game wants to do.
Well, 350,000.
That's Danbury.
Yeah.
Sandy, you have to look at one of
I say.
I look at the
That's hard.
I could-
I was gonna see this and say $350,000.
No,
Like you told me that we had implemented something similar 10 years ago, and it went out, and then it got dropped again within 2 months.
Because the effort didn't.
After and, yeah, because they were,
return.
you end up possibly towing cars, and, yeah, if it's registered out of state, it's considered personal property, then they can put it on for 3 years. And, they've got to do a lot of proof to get it back, so we have to pick the right thing.
Pretty easy to drive around to the driveway and just take a picture.
But I mean, a lot of cars.
We love that in privacy world.
Yeah, right.
Exactly, if someone's on your property taking pictures.
Yeah, not everybody has a long driveway, you know.
Yeah.
I just asked the question, what would we do?
Yeah.
anything?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
so,
You know, obviously the paper saying you don't have to do it, they get people to.
There you go.
yeah, yep.
Litigation, we're okay with.
Yes, that's closer to the date, because they have a specific timeline, 30 days, so they'll, get this, letter. to that.
So you, Joe and Captain, you guys, have you been through enough with the outside attorney, you don't think there's gonna be a problem with any litigation or anything from a disclosure standpoint? Your letter from the lawyers,
Go ahead,
We're
Captain.
waiting to receive it back.
you haven't gotten it back, you haven't
So-
seen it?
We
Any
expect
thought-
to receive it next week.
Yeah,
You
and
don't expect anything in there, right?
No,
That's why you gave us the draft letter from Joe,
yes,
and then I guess there's also a draft letter for Sean.
there will be, that's the one I received, I wanted to make sure you have the most recent that
So
we
that-
received, to keep you up to date. Yeah, you'll get, as it comes, I'll certainly send it on.
Maybe you could give me we could work separately about how to get to the teachers' pension stuff.
Oh, that's the link,
We can talk about that separately, but I couldn't get in this,
okay,
could be my skills.
okay. I'll download it and send it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had one minor little number difference on that education stuff, which I had listed at the end. It's a nit, just take a look at it.
What page?
I put it at the end of mine.
Very last one. Okay,
Next page.
Oh,
It's just a minor one off between two schedules. Nothing to talk about here.
Look, a dollar.
$400.
Now, a dollar?
I found a $1.
We found it $1 because of
On-
rounding, so I have to look at that.
It ends in 601.
I'm always just like stuff to agree with.
Well, because we weren't able to,
It's no
we just got
problem.
the Board of Ed information this week, so it's very difficult to turn it around.
So you know this.
There was one comment, isn't there? There we go. That was in the comment. It's in it.
So, do we have any,
I'm done.
do we have any, anything else you wanna cover on the financials? Anything else you wanna talk about? Anything else on the financials?
Nothing as of yet. You know, for me personally, I think this was our staff and the PKF and the department heads to pull this together this quick in an audit cycle. I've never done it in my career to this level. There was a lot of hours put in by a lot of people to get this to this point. So I do need to recommend everyone that's helped me, everyone in this room and other departments and PKF, to get it to this stage.
But we were, I agree with you, you know, sure, the providing here is, you know, credible, no question about it, you know. And obviously a lot of work, and I know some of you been working on Saturdays and all of that. nature.
all Thanksgiving, Saturdays, Sunday, Saturdays, yeah.
And, you know, I think our objective was to get this filed in December, and it looks to me like we're going to get this filed
We will.
in December.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through, you know, kind of give the finance committee and the town council a chance to review it, but hopefully, as in the past, there won't have any challenges. So I think, that's good, and, so it's good that we're here, so congratulations on that. So there, you know, are always a few little loose ends, we gotta get a representation, we gotta get a legal letter. We have a few questions here, so my suggestion would be that we don't need another meeting to do that, that we, that, you know, in behalf of the committee, Ed's not here, that, and, you know, if you could work with Chuck and with Robin, just to, you know, if anything that needs to be modified, if the three of you agree, we don't need to get back together with some big thing coming up with full emergency meeting, but I doubt that.
So Ed, just in terms of timing,
Sure.
when will we get another version of this?
Well,
Final version.
well,
The
we're
final, which has,
Yeah.
you know, everything we talked about today, like things you and I discussed, things you and Chuck discussed, etc., other input. Middle of next week, I mean, just in terms of,
we'd like to get it
Because-
Monday early, Monday or early as
Right,
possible,
yeah.
Monday or Tuesday of next week
yeah,
for
because
sure.
I mean, this is a good meeting, but, you know, but it's all verbal, we don't, we need,
We need to see.
we need, and I agree, Bill, we
Yeah.
don't need another meeting, but we need to sit down and, fourth bullet on this, we wanted to answer those words, does it,
Yeah.
has it been done?
So if we get
It's Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I think Tuesday, I'm mistaken, is the fifth.
And if somehow you could have,
And then the fifth, and then the following Tuesday is the finance committee meeting. So we should, you'll mail it to the finance committee on the Thursday or Friday?
As soon as it's signed off and approved, we'll just put it on the tablet.
So if you get it to us on
Oh,
Tuesday, we
I'll
should.
turn it around in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Should be able to mail it out by Thursday. which
if
is-
you could somehow highlight the changes,
that'd be
so
helpful.
that'd be good, like.
Red line.
Empty and
Red line.
you could,
Red line,
you could take the one that we reviewed today as base,
Hmm.
and then just mark it from there.
Do you need a hard copy, Chuck, or you happy to do it?
I think it's,
Yeah, I don't need a hard copy now.
and as far as the,
Like you did with MD, just send it around and mark up.
as far as the back part, if there's any changes to the financial statements, I guess, the thing that Joe's certifying to. Just
We'll highlight the pages.
somehow let
I'll
us
put the
know
page notes on where we change it, so you can see it.
if you can do that on that.
Yeah.
Just so we don't have to find it
I'll put it.
in 150 page
So, what the, so I think we have a way forward. We get something back on Monday and Tuesday, 24, 36 hours, we turn around to you, we mail it to the finance committee on Thursday of next week, gives them whatever they want, we give
Yeah.
them a fair amount of time.
All week.
And also to the town council as well, right? That's the next.
Oh, both of them, yes.
And then we would be in a position, see no reason why we would be in a position to recommend to the town council if they in fact, I think they have to approve it. Whatever the right terminology is, like, from last year, approve it, but we recommend that on the 13th, and we plan on being there on the 13th.
Okay.
And then on the 13th, we have, I think we sent you a little draft, schedule or two that we would present to the town council. We're gonna probably modify that a little bit, we're gonna probably add a little bit.
I don't think we've sent it yet.
We sent it to.
No,
Well, it's pretty much the same format as last year, probably a little bit more verbiage, around, the audit RFP process as we wrap up this year, the internal audit process, because the town council knew and so on, so we want to just make sure that there's a good transition from where we are to them, so they just so they understand it.
Okay.
Then we're in good shape. So, yeah, I was reading from this a little bit, but we, yeah, what this talks about Robin and Chuck's approval, and basically says, we'll go into the minutes of, resolution that we, at today's meeting, that we accept the drafts of the CAFR report, and then any changes, just what I said, we have a little resolution.
But basically, we're gonna,
I just give you.
Yes, agreed.
So you had it, we'll put it in the minutes.
Thank you.
we'll take a, a vote that will, so an official vote that we,
Yeah.
recommend the financial subject to.
Subject to those
Rob and my written approval next week,
Yeah, we have that.
that we don't have to go through.
So you're gonna take that.
You take that vote now.
Always allowed.
Okay.
I think we will, yeah.
Yeah, I think we
No, you
did, but
should.
just for the
Should.
record, we make, we're
sure.
allowed.
We can do it.
Always allowed. Then,
Do a lot of that.
so where, town council, the potential vote to, where we stand on the internal audit services and the external, that was the next item on the RFPs.
So I reached out for another town to get a draft, so we have two types of draft that we're working on, and once we get the audit finalized with all the changes, we're working on that, then we shift to that to get that.
Okay, what do you think we would, now that we know we'll be finished on the 13th with this, when do you think we, I mean, it's just, it really just sort of 2 pages, right? I mean, 3 pages, I mean, there's a couple of, if you take a look, I mean, which I know you had, the state statutes and things, I mean, it's draft proposal letters and a whole bunch of, could give us a bunch of them. So, really what I like to do is get it out so people can respond.
Okay.
My point being is that the form is I mean, if we called area and, the last time we did it, we just pulled that out. It's, you
It
know,
was 2012, so it's a bit old. So that, but there's a lot of, yes, I'll look through it.
yeah, my point is just that the firms are just, you know, pretty strong. We've been talking about it for a while, so the firms are, you know, you're gonna send it out and they're gonna respond. And if there's anything specific we want to put in there in the request for proposal, we can. But it's not that complicated. Unless someone's missing something.
Good.
It goes through legal review, that's the only thing. We put all our RFPs and our contracts through legal review. So once we have it, we put it through legal to make sure, because they like to make sure that all the liabilities and things like that are also included in the RFP. So everyone has everything upfront. So we'll make sure that's.
Yeah, that scares me a little bit because it sounds to me like when you send it to the legal department, we're adding once.
No,
I mean,
No, very quick.
if not, that's fine.
Doug's very quick at turning it around,
Good.
very quick.
Yeah.
Good.
Supposed to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if we alert him that it's time.
Yeah, I put it up to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He's very good. And
No. My telephone came up and it said Bill's calling me, you know, just like. I started going through Bill's. Not this Bill. Somebody else is really bad, I'm calling myself. So did we decide on what, do we have a date certain by which we'll have the draft proposal? Just give me a date so we can write something in the book. We were talking.
well, on the last meeting, we said that we have something that once we get it out to the town council, we're final, then I can work on something to say, here's the draft. While legal's looking at it, so at least you can have a draft. I can email it to you, don't reply to me. But I'll email it to you so you can look at it while legal's looking at it, and then I can just combine both at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna have any comments on it. We just basically want to ask people to respond.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
Yep.
And so we should be able to move it quickly. So
And
if I wanted to mark something on my calendar, so.
So, I would say,
Yeah.
yeah,
Was that December 20th?
I'm trying to think of
The
the
15th is
That
a
would be
Friday,
Twenty
so
would be Wednesday.
so 13, 14.
Yeah, the 20th is the Wednesday or the Monday of Christmas Day.
So probably
oh,
maybe the 18th or so.
that's what I was thinking. 18th, 19th.
Great, that's true.
You'll need a list now. People.
Firms. Yeah, the key, as Chuck was saying, the key really is the list of firms. Joe, how many firms out there? You know, if you would, how many firms, or if you would take the 118 towns, if that's still a number, in the state of Connecticut, how many firms are there auditing those 118 towns?
26.
126 towns.
Yeah, well, there's probably 3 firms that do the majority. There's 169 plus school districts. There's like 220 local governments, as they call them. But the biggest are probably CLA, us, McGladrey still does a fair amount, and then there's just a lot of small firms doing the small towns.
Yourself, McGladrey, and is that it?
CLA,
Okay.
Can you give the name of that?
CLA McGladrey.
Yeah, I know CLA stands for.
No.
if they go by CLA, but it's Clifton, Larson, Allen, but CLA is how they advertise. They
Yeah,
don't-
okay, great, all right.
Which one of those is the survivor for like,
Lynn Shapiro,
Lynn Shapiro?
that's CLA.
That's CLA.
And I misspoke, it's 169.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
great. And then on the internal, are we, just to be clear, is that for the internal one as well?
yes, we'll have both.
Great, that'd be sure.
Legal's already looked at the internal one, so that one's pretty much in good shape right now, just.
You know, the internal audit, I guess I could, I know you're gonna probably disagree with this, which is okay, but I would be, I would be okay with a firm who, you know, it'd be good if someone understood government accounting, no question about that. But I guess I'd be on the side, I guess I would be more interested in somebody who was a good forensic inquisitive auditor. than someone who necessarily understood government accounting. I mean, if they were really good on government accounting, but weren't good on forensic detail auditing, that would be the long balance for me. I wouldn't be able to fill it.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, Anne, really what you need and want is somebody who can look at the various processes at the Board of Ed, look at the various processes in the town, and, you know, critically highlight where improvements can be made. And yes, you know, but a lot of it's sort of books and records and controls and access as opposed to government accounting and how to report. Now, if you get both, that's fine. So just think about that.
Joe, who did the Board of Ed's forensic audit years ago? Do you remember? You did it?
I did it.
Okay.
That was J.H. Cohen, Merchant and Cohen
Okay.
Resnick, so that's my former firm, but yes.
I think if you go way back, I don't know what the incident was, but I think actually, I mean, it's maybe 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but way back, the White did something, maybe.
For the town, or the Board of Ed?
Well, I think it was actually to the Board of Ed. Was there some good size scandal going back, or, you know, good size issue before the cafeteria?
Is it where you turned up the insurance? That was a town and Board of Ed, the reserve fund?
I don't know, if you think, you know, you actually, well, maybe it might have even been Price Waterhouse because the department moved over to White. So I think it was, Frank Piandadosi. But the big firms wouldn't do it, you know. For the types of issues and problems we have, you know, they wouldn't do it, and we wouldn't want to pay them. You know. That's the challenge. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, while you're out, we want to take a vote, but
Suspected, we took a bank fraud.
John made a motion that we accept the financial statements as drafted with any modifications and a few final tidying up on that list. Going through you and through Chuck and the other committee.
I will second that, just like last year.
And I'll second it, and I'm in favor of that, and it gave me his vote, but, you know, we voted, we have 3 in favor, so that's fine, good, great, okay.
It was excess cost grants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
That was special ed.
The excess cost grants, you know,
Special ed.
Okay. Okay, how about the monthly financials?
So from the town side, we don't have, a lot of variances right now, which is good. The only two items we brought up against the Board of Finance was, 2 items that were on back order, and unfortunately at the end of the year, we lose those funds. So, we identified funds to cover that won't affect the budget in this year, so that's fine. The fuel repair and something else, so that's good, but we have nothing significant at all.
Part of the Board of Ed goes last month, we indicated that on a payment basis, we were running a little bit high, but underneath that was a timing difference on the transportation bill, which was last year, came in October versus September. And that would normalize the following month, which it did. So we're at 25.5% budget right now versus 25.3 last year. So we're pretty much on track.
Is this a, I guess, same question to the town and to the Board of Ed, is this, a statement as to the quality of the budget process, or is this a statement as to, you know, that we're, you know, that we have 2 big entities that are, you know, pretty much on track, and, or is this, where, I mean, how should we interpret that? That budget's really well done and terrific, or that the spending is,
Spending's controlled, they're following, you know, but we have the controls in place, they can't spend over their budgets. So, you know,
maybe, you know, maybe even like a quarterly, or monthly, or quarterly basis, they're pretty good in staying in budget on a monthly basis.
oh yeah, if they need something and they don't have it, they're gonna have to find that money within their own budget to do a transfer first before they're allowed to put in a rec or anything spending. So the controls are in place in that regard, and then we just monitor, payroll. So there's nothing that's outside of that scope that we see as an issue right now.
But I'm not finding any, you know, under $10,000 bills unless they put on the invoice that it is within the budget.
As far as the board goes, it's a very good, very detailed bottoms up budget process, so that's good. And education expenses are largely people oriented. And we fully encumber the salaries, you know, pretty much, you know, a lot of the expenses are encumbered. And it's a very cyclical in nature, so I think that's why there's not much of a variance.
One thing, and as we progress and you progress towards the Board of Finance and Town Council meeting, will you be preparing some kind of little summary of stuff that you're gonna put in front of the financials when you send it out?
We're, as I mentioned before, we're actually trying to revamp the format, in conjunction with the Board of Finance. So it makes it just simpler to see, and then just have a summary page in the top.
Is that something that you could?
Okay, whatever we send to the Board of Finance, we will send on to you.
Take a look at maybe that you're gonna send along with the finance.
Well, on the draft.
No, it's all right. We would send you, once we present it to the Board of Finance, we'll send this committee the file and the report and the summary page on top. We'll send to this committee once we present to the Board of Finance.
I was just suggesting we'd be happy to look at your bullet points to see if we had anything to add. If you want to. You can send it.
Or the summary.
I'm confused as to what you're asking me.
When you send, you're gonna send out the financials to the Board of Finance. And you're
Yes.
probably gonna have some kind of a cover, little summary.
Yeah.
Saying here's the major changes or something like that. Here's the things to highlight.
Just see some.
If it's possible, if, you know, we wanted to share that, we could, who was like looking at it. Just see, maybe there's something else that we might have thought of. That's all. We'd be happy to look at it and provide it.
Certainly, I'll take a look at that.
And conversely, provide you, like we did last year, we'll probably provide you with our.
Right.
And you can add that maybe to the back part so that it shows up on the screen. So-
Maybe we say,
Monthly, we'll work with that. The monthly, I thought you were talking about the monthly.
You send out these.
Oh, I put it towards this. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm talking about.
I was
Confused, yes.
no, and we'll send you. a
We'll send you
draft.
ours and it's.
Yeah,
we'd be
right.
glad to look at your-
Just a summary.
Sure. Yeah, what I will be presenting.
Probably should send it to the finance committee before, but we'll do two or three slides as we do every year. And you probably should send that to the finance committee, so I don't care if you do, but it's easy, it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
town council.
Yeah,
Look at everything on the map, that's fine.
Yeah, and just on the back of yours, basically, you put it at the back.
Just like last year.
So I think that we're on this sixth item, which is other matters, including adjournment. And I wasn't sure if the first selectman had a speech or something. We wanted to welcome you to your first meeting.
No, but what I should say, and the other doesn't even notice yet, is when you walk out, you're gonna see all the employees milling downtown. Down in the lobby, we've lost all of our internet, when Eversource was cutting up at Lapham, they cut the fiber. And so, fortunately, emergency management has got all police and everybody online on a separate network, but, so don't think that we're just giving everyone Friday mornings to mill about, they literally can't work right now. Our IT department, we're on a guest Wi-Fi, which is not the wiring network.
Oh, yeah, we done that.
Right, so that's why we're able to have this building, but the point is that they're working on a patch, we should be up.
And this was my,
We're putting in the CHP unit, we're connecting this, the power unit on the bottom. It was nowhere near where it was marked on the map, so they thought they had full digging, and it turns out the fiber was right there. So they're working on it, but I just didn't want you all to walk out of here after this great meeting of everybody working so hard to see
I
everyone's.
don't understand anything, because I just,
Not in town,
just a
just the
public
town.
works question. You know, when you go to dig, you have to
They
call, a
have,
company,
and that's the point, it was nowhere on the map where.
but
it was
they
supposed
call
to
a company out to mark it, and I thought they did that.
be. They did, and they said.
The
it was-
map is incorrect.
It's not on there. So they were all of that out, for some reason it wasn't working.
So
So,
you normally close at 1, is it?
what, sorry,
I mean,
why you're in work?
no,
Oh,
today, you finish work at 1, right?
1:30.
1:30.
1:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, so you say we get them the afternoon off.
Well, no, they've got paperwork and I mean, but we also had this competition down at the Christmas.
Yeah, sorry, Christmas party. Did I hear a motion for adjournment?
Let's do that.
So move.
Second, I'm in favor as well, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Again, great job.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank you.
15 minutes.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Right,
Thank
bye.
you.
See ya.